welcome to the show, and thank you for checking us out. So I probably need to address the elephant in the room here, and it's something that I hate to talk about, but I do need to bring it up. Jerry Miller, the editor of Metal Edge, has passed away recently, and I grew up a huge Metal Edge fan. And of course, I recently had Paul Gargano on, who was the editor after Jerry Miller. And my guest today, Rob Lane, he was also a huge fan of Metal Edge magazine, and we're both sad to hear of Jerry Miller's passing. So I want to dedicate this episode to Jerry Miller. I think she was a big proponent of a lot of the music that Rob and I love. So rest in peace, Jerry. But my guest today, Rob Lane, he is a bass player, podcaster, pop culture fan, all around good guy. And I was lucky enough to be a guest on his show, but now I get to return the favor and have him on my show. And I think that basically makes us BFF, best friends forever, or blood brothers or something. But it was a lot of fun to do this episode because Rob is such a nice guy. He's so supportive of my show, and he's obviously a great podcaster himself with some amazing guests on his show that I'm very jealous of, by the way, like Michael Starr from Steel Panther. He had on John Schneider from Dukes of Hazzard. And I knew he was a musician as well, but I didn't really know how many great bands he had played in until we started prepping for this interview. And he gave me a list, his resume. He's played with Bulletboys, Ryan Roxie, who is Alice Cooper's guitar player, Johnny Monaco from Enuff Z'Nuff, played in the band Jetboy, played with Jaret Reddick from Bowling for Soup, and also some band called Let Loose, which apparently they have this monster hit in the UK. They never had a hit here in the US. But anyways, he's got a great resume of music. So it was a lot of fun diving into his background. And if you're a fan of Rob or his podcast, now you're going to know all about it. Enjoy. Welcome, Rob Lane, to the Chuck Shoot Podcast. How you doing?
I'm good, man. This is awesome. This is exciting for me.
Yeah, this is so cool. Like it was so fun being on your show, and now you're on my show. And I mean, you're a musician, a podcaster, and do I dare call you my friend too? Like, can I say that?
Let's do it.
All right.
Everybody's friends these days.
Right?
Everybody's friends in this virtual world.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's weird that I can talk to you. I can actually see you too. And you're how many miles across the pond? I mean, it's insane.
Well, you're on the other side of the state, so I normally say 3,000 miles, but there's probably another few thousand miles in between that. So
yeah. So I recently had. What's that?
We're about 5,000 or 6,000 miles away.
Yeah, that's a lot. So I don't know if you listened to my episode with Lips from Anvil, but he's from Canada. And so I asked him, I was like, so what are the biggest differences between US and Canada? And he just froze like a deer in the headlights. So I've structured a better question for you. So one thing I remember, people from the UK, when they came to visit here, they were so enamored by all the fast food places in the USA. Do you agree with that's a big difference? Or is there other things that stand out to you when you come to the US?
If you'd asked that question maybe 10, 15 years ago, people would have agreed that the amount of fast food places, but now we're catching up pretty, pretty well.
Okay. So is it become more Americanized there? Like, is the fast food the same? It's the same stuff that's over here, or do you guys have like special like UK stuff?
I'm trying to think what we're missing. Wendy's hasn't made it over here, but we still have Burger King, McDonald's, KFC, Subway,
Taco Bell.
I don't know if Taco Bell. I don't know if Taco Bell's made it or not. There may be a few.
Okay.
It's not in the mainstream, but yeah, England's really trying to catch up. I mean, I've always lived in the UK, but I used to spend my summers in the States.
Oh,
so my dad lives over there.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Where's your dad live?
So Mississippi.
Oh, wow. That's got to be a culture shock.
But I love it there. And I used to spend like my 6-week summer vacation there from when I was like 8 years old. And so I used to love going over there to like Burger King and all that kind of stuff. But now it's all come to the UK and it spoils it a little bit. I used to like going to the States and experiencing it over there.
So what do people treat you when you have that accent in Mississippi? Because in Mississippi, everyone kind of talks like this, right? And then do they, what's wrong with you, boy? Like, do they give you shit for that, or are they just like think it's cool? Or
over here in the UK, from where I'm from, I'm like right in the middle of the UK in what we call the Midlands.
Yeah,
and I consider it to be like what we call a really common accent. But in the States, everybody thinks it's like really charming and almost posh. I don't know if that's how it comes across to you.
Well, it's just so different from what I'm saying. Like in Mississippi, it's so southern there. I would assume. Yeah, that's like the deep South, really.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, I've got a stepsister from the States who actually lives over here now and got married to someone in the UK. So she's got this really screwed up she's got a really strong southern accent, but with UK.
That's fascinating.
Ways of speaking in there. So it's crazy.
So then how did you see like American television and music? Did you see that when you would visit in the States, or were you able to? What's that?
It's all on my wall.
Yeah, but how did you, as a kid, did they have, because like I know you're a fan of like Dukes of Hazzard and A-Team and all those 80s shows that I loved as a kid. Did they have that over there, or did you only see that when you came to visit the States?
That was, ask anybody, any kid from the 80s, we looked at America with like wild eyes, because all those shows, especially those 80s ones, like you say, Dukes of Hazzard and A-Team, Knight Rider, Airwolf and everything, they were staples of UK kids TV. It just blew our minds. It was just so larger than life. So yeah, we loved it. And
yeah, because
what I grew up on.
Isn't the thing in the UK, I never understood this, that all their shows are only like 1 or 2 seasons? Why is that?
We don't like to burn out on stuff. We keep it nice and good.
Like, like they don't. The Office. Like you'd think if a show is like a really big hit, why would they stop making new ones? I don't get it.
Ideas kind of run out. You got to be really good if you can keep those shows going for a long, long time. I think sometimes in the UK we're like, okay, let's stop now before we do run out of ideas, rather than milking it and what they say, jump in the shark at some point.
Yeah, no, that definitely, yeah, because
over the shark.
They definitely do that here. They run things a little too long, for sure. I would say that happens a lot. But like one show I think that was really good was like Seinfeld. It ended at in the prime. Breaking Bad those are 2 of the greatest shows, and I think they both ended. They didn't overstay their welcome, so I think that's a good.
I don't think Seinfeld really hit over. It's one show I've never really dived into.
Oh, really? That's one of my favorites. It's so good.
I think it was on over here, but it never really caught on as much as. I'm trying to think of some examples, such as like Cheers and Frasier and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, because some of the humor
were pretty big.
Some of that humor might not transfer.
No, that's probably what it was. Some things are pretty easy for people to take on over here, but for the most part,
you're able to watch all that stuff. So you're watching all those shows. You're in love with the movies, and then the music. You're obviously a big music fan, and we're going to get into your music career. But I saw this thing that on your Facebook the other day that. I was looking through your history. You actually flew 3,000 miles to see Van Halen in Dallas when they reunited. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's how big of a fan you are. Twice you did that.
Van Halen trip. Yeah. Wow. I did it in, when was the first one? 2004 on the, when Sammy came back.
Oh, okay.
Which was a bit of a car crash tour. Eddie wasn't in the best state of mind on that one, but it was still a big deal for me. But yeah, I've got a good friend who likes to go on vacation every year, and he's not into the hard rock stuff, he likes rock, but more of the alternative kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
I was a big Van Halen fan. He's like, hey, do you want to go to Florida and see Van Halen? And we can get a holiday at the same time. I'm like, shit, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, so you guys had Metal Edge there growing up as a kid, because I know that was big. Well, I mean, it was kind of big for the people that like that kind of stuff here in America. But I always wondered, like, they have different magazines over there. Like Kerrang, I think, was a big UK one.
Yep, correct. The main 2 when we was growing up was like, if you was into hard rock, it was Kerrang and Raw. You guys had Rip, we had Raw.
Oh, okay.
Similar kind of thing.
So when you get
you had your other stuff. Sorry.
When you get the Metal Edge, though, are those the U.S., like, are they imports? Do they charge more, or is it the same?
Exactly the same. They're not easy to come by. I've got some down here.
Yeah. I saw that you had like the Trickster Color Spectacular. Oh my God. Did you buy that?
That's the first one I ever found.
Oh my God.
The best of Metal Edge. And I was in straight away. But I've still got some price tags on them, and it was like £2.95. So that's like really cheap. It probably works out about the same price as the US one. So there's no real import tax on them or anything, but you have to find the places which stock them, because obviously that music wasn't as popular over here anyway, so there
Oh, it
wasn't as
wasn't?
much demand for. Oh no,
Huh.
nowhere near. We
Okay.
had, I think we had like the big bands were Bon Jovi and obviously Def Leppard, who are a UK band. They were
Mm-hmm.
huge, but all the, let's say, the second tier bands never really, they had like a bit of a following. Poison could come over here if they never really toured that much, but if they did like a small tour, they'd sell out. But for most bands, it was kind of club level.
Okay. Yeah, because I always thought, like, at least now it seems like I hear people say rock is bigger over in the UK than the US.
It's weird. It's, we have so much kind of, people like so many different kinds. It depends what you want, what you describe as rock. All the big bands, like we said earlier, Def Leppard, Bon
Yeah.
Jovi, they could come over and do arenas, headline festivals and stuff. But all those smaller bands really struggled to get mainstream airplay and all that kind of thing.
But if they do a show, like, I mean, because you were in or you played with a lot of the Enuff Z'Nuff guys, and it seems like there's a lot of connections that I saw in your music resume of like the lead guitarist like had a solo thing and he did it over there, so there's enough to like tour.
Yeah, but with bands like Enuff Z'Nuff, it would always be like, I don't know if you've heard of Rock City in Nottingham. It's like they have different rooms in there, which I'm sure you have clubs over there, which have a big room. Then they have the smaller rooms and stuff like that. Enuff Z'Nuff, at their peak, they could have filled the main stage, which would have been about 1,500 people, something like that. But then for like the past 20 years, that band's on that kind of level. It goes from, those tours are so hit and miss. You could go from a few hundred people one night to 30 people another night, depending on where the venue is. But I'm sure you've seen that in venues over there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
People.
So what were your favorite bands growing up then? I mean, I think I know some of them, but I'm not real sure what are your, like, I know Van Halen obviously was a big one. Was there other ones that were really big for you?
I used to be into like pop music big time.
Oh, really?
Until I was like 14, 15, it was all just the mainstream pop stuff. But then once, I think it was like the Def Leppard Hysteria album was the first big one for me. I was like, holy crap, what is this? And I always say to people, it's like, it was, to my ears back then, it's like, this is so heavy, which is ridiculous when you hear it now.
Yeah.
Because it's not heavy.
Right.
Back then, it's like, this is so heavy, but it's so melodic. It just sounds so great. Just hearing something like that, it just kind of blew my mind. And from then on, I had a friend of mine, we both loved the Hysteria album, and we just talk about it all the time. And from then, it was just finding other bands.
Similar.
Yeah. So from then it was like Poison, Bon Jovi. Extreme was a big band for us when we was at college. That was kind of our college band.
Okay. Yeah, I like them a lot.
Follow them all over the country. I've seen them live so many times.
I've never seen them. Are they still together? Like, I don't know.
Dude, I'll tell you something. Like I said, they used to be our college band. So every tour we'd come and see them. Then they I think they went on like what they call like a hiatus. They didn't break up, but they're like, we're going to go and do our own things. And then they came back, it's probably about 10 years ago now. And they did like academy shows. So quite big venues, like 5,000 people. I was listening to a lot of different kind of stuff at this point, but I thought, oh, Extreme are our band. We've got to go and see them just for old time's sake. They came on first song and I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. They still look as good as they did.
Yeah.
Playing as well, if not better. So good, man. So if you get a chance to see them, they will blow your mind. They're still at the top of the game.
I'd love to. There was a lot of those bands that I loved as a kid that I think we talked about this when I was on your show, how I kind of got into that stuff at the tail end of it. And a lot of those bands did not come to Seattle because Seattle was all about the grunge and they were not about the pop metal and stuff. So like a band like Extreme, yeah, I just don't think they even came to Seattle after I had discovered them at past like 92, 93.
Yeah. And Extreme always had that kind of stigma that they were only known for the one big hit, More Than Words, which even by hard rock standards, most bands of that time were known by the power ballad, which was still had like guitar solos and distorted guitars in there. But Extreme had the most simple,
the acoustic
like
strip,
folk stuff. So you couldn't get much lighter. So I think when people perhaps fell in love with that song, I'm going to go and see Extreme and like, what's this? Wasn't expecting.
Yeah, because if you listen to their other stuff, I mean, Nuno, the guitar player, he's insane. I mean, he's like kind of like a Van Halen, you know, I mean, similar, very similar styles. I want to say rip off because I think he's original in his own right, but I mean, he could keep up with Eddie for sure, like with the
he's
chops.
One of the greatest of all time, man. So tasteful in his playing and so inventive as well. He's
absolutely
insanely good.
Yeah. So
when sold his soul to the devil because he still looks exactly the same.
He does, right? It's weird. He looks so young. So then when did you start like playing music? And did you play guitar and do other stuff, or did you just start right on the bass? Because you play bass now mostly.
Yeah, I was one of those guys who picked up a guitar first. So I was like 16. I brought a guitar from a friend of mine. He sold it me for like, I think it was £10, which works out at like $15 or something. I've got to get rid of this guitar. And it was terrible. And I remember to this day bringing it home and sitting down with it and just like, I have no idea what to do with this. So you get the chord book and figure out some chords. And I think the first thing I learned was I've said it many times, the acoustic breakdown in Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like, holy crap. I'm playing the same notes that they're playing on the record. And it just blows your mind. It's the most simplest chords if you're a guitar player. It's just a G and a C. But that first time you do it, it is pretty magical. But I had a bunch of friends who played guitar as well, and I couldn't keep up with them. Every time I'd see a friend of mine, he'd like, oh, I've learned the solo to Don't Cry by Guns N' Roses or something like that. And every day he'd have learned a new solo. I'm like, I can't keep up with this. So even back then I thought, there's not many bass players about. If I want to be in a band, if I get a bass,
there you go. That's smart. See, that's what I should get, because I was the same way. I picked up a guitar and I was like, dude, I can't keep up. Like my teacher would like pick up. I was like, maybe something's wrong with my guitar. And then my guitar teacher would pick it up and he'd be like, and I was just like, okay, it's not the guitar, it's the player. So I was like, I just don't think I'm gonna
put some hours in.
Yeah, I just wasn't. I got to a point where I plateaued and I was like, I can't get any better at this. I just don't have the talent. I wish I had the talent because I love music, but I think I just like being a fan more than playing it. So you got to play the bass and you were in some bands. And I think one of your first bands was this band, you were in it for a long time, the Teenage Casket Company. I love, who came up with that name? That is it's so dark, but I really like it.
It's a strange, it's a name I've never been a fan of, but when they suggested it, it was I'd been playing in bands for probably, when was that be? I'd probably been playing in bands for best part of 10 years, just local bands, friends and stuff like that.
Okay.
Gigging around. But it was this weird time around, when would it be? 2003, 2004, when rock music, just the word rock was not around at that point. You never even heard people saying it at that.
Really?
Over here, definitely.
Huh.
You had like all your new metal and all that kind of thing, but no one ever said the word rock or rock and roll. It was just so far out of fashion. It was unbelievable, but I still loved it. I was listening to bands like the Goo Goo Dolls and all that kind of stuff which was kind of in a similar vein, still melodic hard rock. But so I needed to find a band which was going to do that. And I met a guy who I'd seen at all the hard rock gigs, which I was going to. I recognized that guy. He had long hair and all this kind of stuff. So he's into the same stuff as me. And we just hit it off one night talking. And he says, I want to form a band, which is like, do you remember All American Rejects?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw them live. They're good. Poppy, kind of pop punk stuff.
Yeah, he's like, I want to do something like that. All American Rejects and Sugar Cult and 40 Foot Ringo, which is Steve Brown's band from Trickster. Just like really power pop kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm all in for this. This is the band I've been looking for. So we got together. He brought in another guitarist. So we had this kind of Goo Goo Dolls kind of thing. We had a hard rock guy singing and playing guitar, and we had a punk rock guy singing and playing guitar as well. So you had the different vocals.
Oh, that's nice.
And it was Jamie, the punk rock guy, says, I've come up with a name, Teenage Casket Company. I'm like, oh, that's a bit, I'm not sure about that.
It's dark.
But even at that time, I thought, if you don't remember the name, you'll remember seeing it.
Yeah, no, that's not a name you forget. I mean, it's like I said, it's dark. It's like, but and it stands out, I think, is the thing.
So that was where that came from. Perhaps, I don't know if it suited the music or not, but people remembered it.
Yeah, for sure. And then you guys did some cool tours with Stevie Rochelle of Tough, and did you supported Vane and LA Guns? Which version of LA Guns was it? Because there's so many different versions of that band.
Tracy wasn't in the band.
Okay.
Stacey Blades was in the band.
Oh, he's good.
Phil was singing. Yeah.
Okay. And Steve Riley must have been there then at that point.
I think Steve Riley was. I'm wondering if it was, would it have been Adam Hamilton?
It might have been, yeah. I had him on the show. He's a great guy. I love that guy.
Yeah, so we did a couple of shows with them, and that was a cool time. Even though rock music wasn't that much in fashion, you still had the occasional bands coming over from the States doing tours. And the Vane tour was great because I think that might have been pretty much all original guys from back in the day, and they were awesome. So yeah, it was really cool to do all that kind of stuff. And it was at a time when rock was out of fashion, but there was like a small core of fans and people who really wanted to bring it back. So people were really enthusiastic about it. So we didn't really fit in. We always say we was too punk for the rock crowd and too rock for the punk crowd. We never quite fit in anyway.
That sucks. Well, so then you got to also tour with the Bulletboys. So explain to me how that came about. Like, how did they find you? And then tell me what it was like working with Marq Torien, because I had him on the show, and he's kind of a character. He's like, seems like a really genuinely nice guy. Like, I don't know. Tell me about this.
This around similar time. So in the mid 2000s, again, all these tours which came to the UK, I would always go to see them, like Enuff Z'Nuff, Pretty Boy Floyd, and all this kind of thing. But one thing I was noticing, you'd see these 3-band bills, which had like Pretty Boy Floyd, Bang Tango, and somebody else. And I was going to all these gigs, and what I was noticing was it was the original singer, but hired guns playing in the rest of the band.
Right.
But it would be the same backing band for all the bands, but just the singer would change, which was a bit weird.
That is weird.
So you'd have Steve Summers from Pretty Boy Floyd singing with 2 guys. Steve Summers would go off, Bang Tango would come on, Joe Lestay would come on, but the band would stay the same.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if they did that in the States.
No, I don't think so. Not that I knew of. That's crazy.
Which was cool. It was fine. It made total sense.
Yeah, because you can't bring the whole band over. That's really expensive.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think I just had a light bulb moment. I thought, I'm going to email the booking agent and say, look, if you ever need a bass player, give me a call.
Okay.
I'll be available for any UK shows. No reply, nothing. 3 months later, I just get an email drop into my inbox. We need a bass player to play for Bulletboys on a UK European tour with Faster Pussycat and Enuff Z'Nuff. Are you in? Never heard me play. They didn't know me.
What?
They want the gig. Yeah.
That is awesome.
I've seen some photos on MySpace. Oh, he looks cool.
Yeah.
He's playing bass. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he plays. He's got a bass on the picture. Yeah, it's got to be good enough. That's amazing. So were you able to learn the songs? I mean, it went okay. I mean, they didn't fire you, right? So you must have been
Yeah, it was awesome. That first Bulletboys album's a classic. I'll argue that any day. Freak Show is just crazily good as well. But yeah, I got the set list, learned all the songs, and turned up first day. No rehearsals. We just had a quick sound check, and that was it.
And you're in. So, and then Marq was happy. So, yeah, like, tell me what it was like working with him, because he's, like I said, he's kind of a character, but also seems like a really nice guy.
It's great. It's like every time people knew that I'd played with the Bulletboys, the first question was, "How was Marq? How was it?" Because he's larger than life. He's full on. He can, by his own admissions, he can explode at any time. He'll probably admit that to you. But
really,
I got on with him great. I used to room with him on all the tours and stuff like that, because you normally get 2 hotel rooms per band. So it'd be me and Marq, and then whoever. Because I did 3 tours with Bulletboys, and it's a different band every time.
Oh, wasn't one of them? Did you say one of them was in the U.S.? So you flew over for it then, or?
Yeah, I did. The first tour was in 2007. That was a UK European tour. 2008, same thing again. And then in 2009, I think it was around March time, they had a US tour. It was just before the album 10 Cent Billionaire came out. And Lonnie, the original guy, he was back on bass.
Lonnie Vincent, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, who I think is a phenomenal bass player. I love learning his parts. He's so cool. And I think they did like 1 or 2 shows, and I think they fired Lonnie. I don't know why. I don't know the reasons.
Okay.
And I distinctly remember being at work and getting a text message from Rich, the drummer, "We've fired Lonnie. can you be in the US as soon as possible? I'm like, what?
Okay.
I got the text on Monday lunchtime, and I was flying to the US on Wednesday morning to Minneapolis, I think I flew into.
Did they pay for your flight then, or?
I got it all covered. Yeah.
Okay, nice. That's really cool.
It all worked out. I mean, I'm one of those people. I'm a fan as well.
So how come you haven't had Marq on your podcast?
You could best ask him that. I've sent him about 50 messages.
Really? Yeah. Oh shit, man. Damn. Okay. Hit up his. I think you should hit up their Twitter, because that's how I got him on my show. They responded right away.
Yeah, I need to get him on. He's like, he's probably like, I'll do one with Rob next time I see him.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. So then you were in this other band. I don't know if people remember this band, D-Generation, but I loved that album they had, No Way Out. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if that was the song or I know the song was called No Way Out. I don't know if that was the album was called that too, but it had the picture of like the lunchbox. And so you got to tour with him, what's his name? Richard Bacchus?
Yeah, Richard Bacchus. Yeah.
Richard's back. He's like the guitar player. No, singer. He was a singer of that band, right?
He was a guitar player. Yeah.
Guitar player. Okay. So you got to do like did he do that song, No Way Out? Because I love that song.
Did we do that one? I don't know if we did that one or not.
Really? I feel like that's like their biggest hit when he was in D-Generation.
Capital Offender was the big one for us. I don't know if you know that song going on. That's a great song. And obviously Degenerated as well. But yeah, that was cool because, again, going back to Teenage Casket Company, my old band, Degeneration was one of the big bands for all of us, which we all kind of met on. Like, we all agree this is awesome.
That must be they must have been bigger in the UK, because I really liked them, but I don't think they really hit it in the States.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse Malin does great over here, the singer, on his solo stuff. He smashes it over here. But we covered a Degeneration song on our EP. We covered the song Hatred, which used to do at all our gigs and stuff like that. And Jamie, he got in touch with Richard Bacchus at some point. And Richard, who's originally from the UK, strangely enough, he's like, I'm going to come over and do some shows. Do you want to put a band together for us? And we're like, we'll do that.
Okay.
So, there's me, Jamie on guitar. Obviously, Richard played guitar as well. And we had a guy called Nick on drums. And yeah, we did like a 2-week tour all over the UK. It was a tough tour, but it was one of those tours where you don't realize how much fun you're having at the time. But it was a tough one.
It's a tough one because fans aren't showing up or getting along with the band, or
not the greatest crowds, just strange venues and stuff like that. We did a lot of miles on that tour, and yeah, it was great. We had a lot of fun. It was really, really good.
Okay. And then, what about this band? You're in another band called the Black Mollies, which is a band with what's his name? Tory Stoffregen?
That's right.
From Enuff Z'Nuff, this band here. And you said that it sounded in the vein of Lit and Everclear, and I listened to it, and I was like, the first song, I was like, oh my God, this totally reminds me of Lit. And I thought I thought that band was really talented. It just didn't make it for whatever reason or whatever, because that seemed like it could have been big.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff was that. I mean, I never recorded with them. I was just like a touring guy for the tours, which I did. But again, it's how everything's so incestual with all this kind of whole scene. I did that first Bulletboys tour, and in Enuff Z'Nuff, the drummer was a guy called Randy Scott, and we got on great. And after that tour finished, he's like, I've got a buddy of mine called Tory. He plays in a band called the Black Mollies. We're thinking of coming to the UK. Would you be interested in playing bass? I'm like, listen to the stuff. And I was all in because I love Lit. I love Everclear.
Yeah.
So that kind of ticked all the boxes for that. So again, it was just a 3-piece band. Those Tory and Randy flew to the UK. I play bass. And we did 3 tours, I think, with the Black Mollies. And now Tory did a tour with the Bulletboys. He joined them. Now he's in Enuff Z'Nuff.
Yeah, it's all connected. That's crazy. So, and this is another interesting one that you did. Like, you've done so many bands, but this band Let Loose, who I've never heard of even, but I looked them up and I was like, holy shit, these guys had a bunch of hits, but one of their hits, I mean, it was actually the number 2 song in the UK, and they never even had one song chart in the US. That's crazy. Like, why do you think that is? It seems like that happens more frequently than you'd think.
I don't know why. I guess it depends what record label they signed to.
Yeah.
And whether that label's got any push in the States. Because for a UK band to break the States is just, there's not many that can do it. it's really tough. Especially back around that day, 80s and 90s, a band used to have to go to the States
Really?
and literally tour for.
But you think
4
if
months.
it's the number 2 song in the UK, it would have at least hit the top 40 in the US. Like that's crazy that it didn't. They did not have one song make a hit in the US. That's really interesting.
But they had to work hard with it in the UK. I think by the time it was a song called "Crazy for You" in 1994, and I think by the time it kind of got the peak of its success, I think that was its 3rd release. It had been released 3 times,
okay,
and just never caught on. Then all of a sudden, and
blew
again,
up.
this is a weird time. It's like I just finished college, loving all the hard rock stuff, like Danger Danger and Poison, and that's so out of fashion at that point. So I'm like grabbing for something which is similar, not similar, but just a melodic rock song. All of a sudden, this song called "Crazy for You" comes on the charts. I'm like, what's this? It's like Duran Duran. It's like Nick Kershaw. It's just like great pop music, and there's a guitar solo in it and some lead guitar parts. I was all in on that one, so I was a fan back then.
Okay.
Around a similar time as the Bulletboys stuff, 2007, I got in touch with the singer, tracked him down, did a bit of Rob Lane stalking online on MySpace and find out what he was up to. And I saw he was after a bass player for this solo stuff he was doing.
Perfect.
So offered my services for that. Then a year or so later, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to get together with Lee, the original drummer from Let Loose. Do you want to be part of this reunion?" I'm like, "Shit, yeah."
Was that a pretty big tour then? Are those guys pretty big over there, even at that point?
It was. We never toured, but we did all like road shows and stuff. I don't know if you guys have road shows in the States.
What do you mean road shows?
Probably sort of like, I'm trying to think of an equivalent. Probably like a state fair on a much smaller level.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure.
We did a few of those with like a few other pop acts from back in the day. We just did a few small headline shows, which were amazing. Their fan base from back in the day still sticks around, and they were so excited about it. But fortunately, it just kind of didn't really get the legs I'd have liked it to have done. We recorded a brand new album, so I got to play bass on that, which was a really cool deal. And Richie's an amazing songwriter. If anyone wants to check out the Let Loose stuff, like just. Great.
It's always interesting to hear a song that was so big in one part of the. I mean, I get it if it's like a different language, but they're speaking English, so you'd think that would have translated to the US. That's always interesting.
I think that's the same though. There's a lot of US songs which are so mainstream to you guys, and no one's ever heard them.
Yeah. Well, and then like, what's that guy's name? Robbie Williams. Isn't he like a big over there? He's like a one-hit wonder here. I think he's got like one song over here.
Robbie Williams is like could do a stadium over here.
Yeah, he's like, I think he has like one hit over here. It's bizarre.
Yeah. And again, that's because the States, I think Robbie tried for a while. I think he's tried a few times to crack the States, but I don't know if it's still the same over there with streaming and stuff. Perhaps it's easy. I mean, I don't want to say it's easier now, but there's a lot more chance for a song to hit over there with viral streaming and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. It's just kind of the best stuff gets hits, and you get on these playlists or whatever. That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think Robbie tried a few times to break the States just through touring and visiting all the radio stations, and whether his sense of humor, whether he was too British. I think you can be too British sometimes.
That's a thing? How can you be too British? What does that mean?
I don't know. He's got a lot of Robbie's lyrics and stuff, they're very British in the humor.
Okay.
So if it doesn't translate.
All right. Fair enough.
I think there's that kind of thing.
What about, so you toured with Johnny Monaco, people don't know that was the guitar player for, again, this band, Enuff Z'Nuff. I didn't know he had like a solo career, and he actually does your theme music for the podcast. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Did you guys do Enuff Z'Nuff songs in the set?
Actually, we didn't.
Really?
No Enuff Z'Nuff songs. It was all
That's
Johnny's
interesting.
solo stuff and some cover songs as well. I'm trying to think what cover songs we did. We did some Cars songs, Queen, Thin Lizzy, and then the rest of it was Johnny's stuff. I think it was Johnny just kind of, right, this is what I'm doing now.
Okay.
Which was, I understood that. That was fine. I mean, he didn't write the Enuff Z'Nuff hits. He joined in the mid to late 90s. So Johnny was probably thinking, why play songs I didn't write.
Yeah, no,
And the
that
reason
makes
for it.
sense. I thought wasn't he singing for Enuff Z'Nuff at one point too? Or okay,
Yeah, he originally joined as the guitar player,
that makes sense.
and then when Donnie left, Monaco took over lead vocals, and he's done that a couple of times now. He does a phenomenal job
Yeah.
at it as well. So that tour was cool. We used a lot of backing tracks, which I've never done before.
Oh, yeah.
is
What's
kinda
so?
weird
What's
for
your
me.
thought on that? Do you think that that's okay, or do you think that's like not being keeping it real? Or because like Eddie Trunk, I don't know if you know who that is, but he's a big rock guy down here, and he always talks about how much he loathes backing tracks. He thinks bands should be 100% live.
Yeah, I don't know about 100% live. I mean, if you can't afford to bring a keyboard player out on tour with you,
Yeah,
put
that's
the
tough.
keyboards on tape. I think some bands do go over the top on it. I think we struggled with it on that tour because there was a lot of backing vocals, and it was another case of Johnny flew in. We only had a short amount of rehearsals, so wasn't really sure 100% of what was going off. So perhaps sometimes I wasn't singing and you was hearing all these big backing vocals. So that's when it doesn't work so much. But I don't know. I think there's a nice middle ground.
Yeah.
Of it.
You have a good point. Yeah. I think even Eddie Trunk says, like, I get it. If there's like a keyboard part and you don't have a keyboard player, that makes sense. But he's like, when it's like every track is a backing track, it like takes away from a lot
I
of
think
the
you can
stuff.
have a few subtleties. And
Yeah. That's okay.
If you got three guys on stage and none of them singing at the microphone, and you've just got all these massive vocals coming over the PA, that's like,
it's a little suspicious.
Hang on a
Yeah.
yeah.
So then you're in this band, People on Vacation, which has the singer of, is it the singer of Bowling for Soup?
Mm-hmm.
So then you guys, they had to have done Bowling for Soup songs, right? Because those guys have a lot of hits.
Yeah, we did one Bowling for Soup song. The
That's
bitch
it?
song.
Which one?
The bitch song.
The bitch. Wait, which one's that? Is that a hit?
It's off. I think it did pretty. I think it was the kind of first minor breakthrough hit. I don't know how much Bowling for Soup stuff you're familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they had a handful of like pretty big songs. Like, I can't remember the names of them, but I know that they were pretty big. Like, what's the one that's like Springsteen, Madonna, right before Nirvana, that whole thing.
1985.
Yeah, 1985. That was a big one. And you guys didn't play that live, huh?
1985. Yeah, that was huge. No, but the bitch song was probably about 2 albums before then. That was kind of the one that got them on the radar and really became a big touring band. So we did that one, which was cool. But I love that band. I was gutted when that band broke up after 2 albums. That was,
but so then
because that was a really original band.
Yeah, but so then you met Ryan Hamilton, and that's the band that you're in now. And I listened to some of this, or I listened to a lot of his music, and it's really good stuff. Very poppy kind of rock, kind of like Gin Blossoms. And I think you guys toured with Roger Klein, and I see that as a good fix. I'm like, I feel like these two bands would sound good together. And I was curious though. So you did the music video that was shot here in Arizona. You guys are wearing suits up on this mountain. Did you hike up in the mountains in suits, or did you change when you got up there?
Yeah. No, we was wearing suits by the time we got there. We just parked in like the parking lot of the mountains, fully suited up. Then I had to walk all the way up into the mountains wearing the suits. That was a killer, dude.
Oh, that sounds rough. Dang, dude. Yeah, because like it gets so hot. Long sleeves. And how long is that photo shoot or video shoot then? Yeah. Wearing the suit. Was it long?
We didn't mess around. We didn't mess around. We did it in probably only about 2 or 3 hours, something like that. So it was proper guerrilla style. Get in there, get it done. But Ryan had a pretty good idea of what he wanted. We did this really cool thing where if you watch the video, it's for a song called "This Is the Sound."
Yeah, it's really good,
and it's almost in slow motion, but the vocals obviously normal. And what you have to do is you play the song back at a high speed. So Ryan was kind of technically singing it super fast.
Oh.
And when you come to the editing, you run it at normal speed and it slows everything down. So whilst the song's playing at the right time, everything else is moving slightly slow. And it's a really cool trick and it works really well. So that was kind of cool to do. So the stuff where Ryan's walking along and singing, I'm actually in front of him with the camera on my shoulder. I was the one filming that.
Oh,
It's proper DIY filmmaking. That was.
it totally sounds. So you guys didn't have a permit or anything like that. You're just like kind of like just going up there and shooting it and making this video.
Should we add a permit?
I always wonder about stuff like that. Like, yeah, like I guess because if you're a bigger budget, I mean, I guess someone's gonna come and stop you. But if it's something like that, I guess they just don't care.
Yeah, we just had a few walkers walking by asking us what we were doing.
Yeah, because you're wearing suits on the desert. They're like, "What the fuck's going on here?" Yeah, that's crazy. So then, Jetboy, tell me about that one. Like, that's kind of cool. You got a last minute call to play for them, and then I don't know. Do you know the story of their original bass player? It's kind of a crazy story.
Yeah, that whole Jetboy story is nuts. I was never a big fan. I always knew of them because I know they're one of those original bands from back in the day with like your Guns N' Roses, It always used to be Guns N' Roses, Faster Pussycat, and Jetboy. They used to be the three names of like that original like Sunset Strip scene. So I knew of them. And yeah, their whole story is crazy. Losing the bass player. I think they like got dropped like once or twice before the first album came out. They just kind of suffered all this kind of backlash.
The bass player actually
walls which they had to try and
because I'm told the original bass player, he died in a drug overdose in Slash's hotel room. I remember hearing about that too because I think weren't they like good friends or something? It was very bizarre, really sad.
Yeah, I think those bands are like they were like best mates. Those two bands used to hang out and stuff like that.
That's so crazy. That makes you wonder like what
Jetboy bass player.
Yeah,
he was like full on partying mode. And I think they tried to get him cleaned up because they're getting all these record company meetings like, look, you need to pull yourself together and all this kind of thing. But yeah, whether he was too far down the line, and I think they tried to put him in rehab and all this kind of stuff. And
sad.
Yeah, ended up he OD'd in like with Slash either in a dressing room or a hotel room or something like that. And I think that kind of caused a bit of a rift between Jetboy and Guns N' Roses. I think Guns N' Roses were like, oh, you should have stuck by your friend, and Jetboy were like, look, we're trying to get him help.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know the full story. I know the Jetboy guys are find it all really tough, and yeah, it's crazy ass stuff like that. It's nuts, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, that was cool for me to do. Again, it's weird how things work out. I did my first Bulletboys tour in 2007 with Faster Pussycat, and the version of Faster Pussycat, it was a great lineup. It was they brought a few of the original guys back. Brent Muscat was there, and Eric Stacey was playing bass, and we hit it off great. Kind of stayed loosely in touch over Facebook and things like that. And then Eric joined Jetboy, and then a week before this Jetboy tour was like arranging to meet up at this gig and all. Oh, it's going to be great to see you after all these years. A week before, he messages me. He's like, dude, I can't do this tour. I think he had like some hernia or something, or he'd had an operation or something like that.
Oh, geez.
Can you do the tour for me? I'm like, shit, I've learnt songs in like 3 weeks before, but you're giving me like 3 days.
Yeah, geez.
To learn stuff I've never heard before. I knew Feel the Shake, and that was about it. But yeah, it was great. I knuckled down and got the songs done, and that band are awesome.
That's really cool. Really and then you toured with Ryan Roxie. I didn't know a lot of these guys had these like solo projects, but I know he does like a solo podcast, and he's the guitarist for Alice Cooper, for those who don't know. But how close are you with him? Because you had him on your show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him on my show for like 2 years. Like,
what?
Yeah, I keep reaching out. He's like, oh, send me an email. And I send him an email and I don't hear him. I'm like, damn it. Like, what? He's just a busy guy, I think.
I'll put a word in for you, sir. I'll tell him to get on here. But yeah, me and Ryan have known each other since I used to do a magazine called Trashpit. Which was kind of my way of, I've always loved like fanzines and stuff like that. And I used to do one for like local unsigned bands in the area. And then again, everything for me kind of happened around like the early 2000s. I was like, where are all my favorite bands these days? What are Danger up to? No one's interviewing Danger. No one's interviewing Steve Brown from Trickster. I want to know what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I thought, shit, I'm going to make my own magazine and track these guys down. And this is like in the early days of MySpace and stuff. And so, yeah, that's what I did. I started interviewing all these bands. And one of them was, I'd seen Ryan Roxie at all these Alice Cooper gigs. because I'd become a big fan of Alice Cooper.
Yeah. How do you know Alice Cooper? Because I think that you're like friends with him on Facebook or something. Am I crazy?
Unless I caught him in the very early days of Facebook.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
But yeah, like the Alice Cooper connection like stems way back to when I first started playing bass. He had a guy called Todd Jensen playing bass for him, who used to be in a band called Hardline. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah, with Johnny and Joey.
Oh yes,
Gioli or what? I don't know. I never knew how to say their last names, but I like the band. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a huge album for me, Double Eclipse. And Todd Jensen played bass on that, and he was one of the reasons, other than me thinking that playing bass would get me into a band easily. I always thought he was one of the coolest bass players around. So he was originally David Lee Roth, and he did Hardline. Then he went on to join Alice Cooper. So I want to go and see Todd Jensen at a Alice Cooper gig. So I went down, and then there's this other guy playing guitar. I was like, who's he? He's pretty cool. Find out it's Ryan Roxie. So when I'm doing Trashpit, sorry if I'm jumping for all these.
No. I love, this is great. Yeah. Ryan Roxie's, I mean, I've been a fan of him since Gilby Clarke. So.
Oh, wow. Cool. So it's like, I need to interview Ryan Roxie. And this is like before Zoom and all this kind of stuff. So you had two ways of doing interviews. You either went to a gig with a little tape recorder, recorded them, or you just sent some questions over email. The only way I could interview Ryan Roxie was just send him some questions.
Okay.
To be honest, 9 out of 10 email questionnaires, which you do, they came out rubbish because these guys would just give you like a single line answer.
Yeah, because they don't want to type a bunch of, that's a lot of work to.
Which is the worst. So I thought, well, it's my only option to interview Ryan Roxie, so I'll send it to him. This came back with like the best answers to questions I'd ever seen. I was like, holy crap. This was originally just going to be a 1-page interview in my magazine. This shocker's going on the cover. This is so good.
Wow.
So I made him the cover star of Trashpit Magazine, and took him a copy down to the next Alice Cooper show, and we kind of just stayed in contact since then.
That's awesome.
Yeah, all these years later, fast forward 15 years or so, we need a bass player for some UK shows. Do you want to do it? Yeah, I'll do that.
So then what is his solo stuff? Does he do Alice Cooper songs, or does he just do his own solo stuff? Or
we did a couple of Alice Cooper songs. Obviously we did Schools Out.
Okay.
At the end, but if you dive into Ryan's discography, it's insane, man. He's got so many different bands. His first solo stuff I got to know was Dad's Porno Mag. I don't know if you've
That's right. Yeah, I've heard of that. I haven't. Now I could probably check it out. It's probably on YouTube or Spotify. That's one thing I like about all this stuff. It's on. But what about yourself? Like, how come you don't have a Wikipedia page? Because I see your name listed on all these bands that you sent me this resume, and I was like, okay, I got to look all these bands up, and I'm like, and you've gone like Bulletboys Wikipedia and stuff like Rob Lane, but it's like it doesn't click to anything.
Bulletboy 69 or something like that. I'm like way down the list.
Yeah, but it's like still like it should be able to click so it's all together, so it's all on a Wikipedia page. We got to get that set up for you. I don't think
you're allowed to set up your own Wikipedia page.
Well, shit, maybe I'll do it for you then if I can figure out how to do it. But yeah, because I feel like you're in all these bands and there's all these connections, and that's what I love about the internet and the Wikipedia is like you find this guy, like, who's this guy? And then you're like, wait, this guy was in this band and that band. And you're in all these bands with all these connections. I feel like you should have the Wikipedia page.
That'd be nice. It's like the Twitter blue tick or something like that.
Kinda. Yeah. Kinda. That's almost more, I don't know. It seems like might be less actually in some ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then you started your podcast. It originally started out as a way to play songs from movie soundtracks, which I love. Cause like, I think you and I have a lot of the same movie tastes. So now it's evolved into this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that originally straight to video because, as we've spoke about, I've played in a lot of bands, but I've never been a songwriter. I always say, when you're a kid at college and first learning the guitar, you wrote a few songs and tried some lyrics and stuff like that, but I've never really pursued it. And I've always said I've been, even from my very early bands with just school friends and stuff like that, I've always considered myself to be super lucky to play in bands with good songwriters. I've always thought, that guy can write a good song. That guy can write a good song. So I'm like, I've never really had the inclination to do it. So,
so you're just okay. So you like kind of being like, what would you call it? Like a hired gun?
I'm more than happy to be a hired gun. All my heroes are hired guns, going right back to Todd Jensen from Hardline to Ryan Roxie. They're all the hired guns. They're the guys I always looked up to and admired and thought, rather than the front man, I'm like, who's that guy over there? He's cool. He's doing some cool stuff. I like him. So, but I always wanted to do my own, if you say like solo album or something like that. And the original thing was to put like a cover band together, just playing movie soundtrack songs. I always thought that'd be cool, but we could never, as you find, as you get older, you realize how hard it is to set up a band. It's so hard as you hit your 30s, everybody's getting families and I can't practice that night. I can't do this night. So you realize how lucky you was when you was like 18 years old and all you wanted to do was practice. But I was just speaking to a friend of mine, a guy called Casey Duggan, who plays in a cool band called The Idle Dead one time at a show. He's like, oh, what's happening with this straight to video thing I've heard you talking about? I'm like, dude, I can't get a band together. And I think he said, he was like, mate, you know everybody. Just do it as a recording thing. Just get all different singers in and just do it like that. I was like, light bulb.
There you go.
So yeah, straight to video became this recording project where I'd pick 80s and 90s movie soundtrack songs and just get all my music friends to play on them. I get people to send stuff in from the US or come to the studio and lay some tracks down. So we did an EP, an album. And then I've just been kind of dabbling, do a Halloween song every year or something like that. And I've always wanted to do a podcast, mate. It's going. So I thought, why not give it a shot and tie it all in together, talk about people's growing up and what they're into, favorite films. And thanks to COVID lockdown, it gave me a bit of time to concentrate on it and figure out all the technology.
Yeah. So you've had some really cool people on your podcast. Roger Klein he's like a god here in Arizona. The Michael Starr Steel Panther episode, that was one of my favorites. You interviewed Emily Valentine from 90210. That's kind of cool. And then
cool.
I just listened to this one today. The Dukes of Hazzard guy, John Schneider. That is he Bo Duke? He's Bo, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge one. So what's your most popular interview that you've done, you think? I mean, you should be able to tell from the numbers, right?
It's a weird one because you won't have any idea what I'm talking about.
Really?
But it took me by surprise. There was a band over here back in the 70s, I think, called Showaddywaddy. Now I'll be impressed if you've heard of them.
No, never heard of them.
They were like, their biggest hits were all cover songs of like old 50s and 60s songs, and they did like revamped versions in the 70s.
Okay.
And this band were massive. I was too young, but they used to play on all like, we used to have a show called Top of the Pops over here, which was like, I'm trying to think what the equivalent to be in the States, but where you'd see bands actually playing live. So this is your chance to see them playing on a stage. And Showaddywaddy was huge. And it turns out the drummer from Showaddywaddy, he runs a club, which is like 3 miles down the road from where I live. And he's the biggest character you can get, Malk.
Okay.
Alured, his name is. And who I've known for, I don't know, 15 years or something like that. We had our wedding reception at his club and all this kind of stuff. And my drummer friend, Mickey Richards, who I've played in People on Vacation with, Johnny Monaco, he's been my go-to guy for drummers. He's known Malk even longer than I've known him. He's like, you know what you should do? You should get Malk on your podcast. He's got some stories. So I'm like, oh, that's actually a pretty good idea. So I go up the road 5 miles to interview Malk, and he's telling me all these stories about meeting George Harrison from the Beatles and
dang,
all this kind of stuff. This guy can talk for days. So, this is great. This is a really fun episode. I'll put it out there, posted it on the Showaddywaddy fan page. That thing got more listens in the first day than the next popular episode below it.
Wow. Yeah. So I'm not number one is what you're saying. Is that
not number one? I'm afraid.
Sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. No, that's crazy.
It's still the most popular episode by.
That's crazy.
It's got twice as many listens.
What? So wait, tell me the band's name again. Showaddywaddy? What the hell does that even mean? Okay. Well, that's fun. I'll have to listen to that episode then. I don't think I've listened to that one. I've listened to a lot of your episodes though. Like I love you you're very just, focused, and you just move along, and the episode just goes, and you don't go too long. Like I'm probably going too long right now because I'm having so much fun.
There's a
but
lot of editing.
yeah, no, you edit it, and it sounds great. So, do you ever get like trolls from either as a musician or podcaster? Do people ever troll your page?
Hand on heart, I've never really had any online abuse or anything I don't know.
Because you're so nice. Like you're so nice to me. And I'm like, I don't know why this guy's so nice to me. Like I love it. I'm not complaining, but I'm like, you're like just so nice. You always like my stuff and comment and like saying something nice. And I'm like, this guy's like so nice.
Option? Do you get trolled?
I get trolled a little bit. Yeah. A little bit here and there. Yeah. But I get some really nice comments too. So, I mean, I don't know, like, are you getting along pretty well with the other podcasters? Cause I feel like in terms of the other podcasters, everyone I've encountered, most everyone has been like really cool. Like even the bigger guys will reach out to me and they'll be like, they'll offer me guests and like publicity people. They're like, hey, do you want to you should talk to this publicist. They can get you this person or that person. I'm like, why are you reaching out to me? I didn't you reached out to me to offer me a guest that's like really big. Awesome. And they're like, yeah, just like help you. Like, do you get a lot of that too?
I've not had many people I've had quite a few PR people get in touch and stuff like that. It's slowly building up and all that kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm pretty picky out who I have on my show.
Are you really? Then how the hell did I get on there?
Because I like your show.
Oh, thanks, man.
A good storyteller.
Yeah.
But we've discussed it before. It's hard when you want to put together maybe an hour-long show. If it's a newer band, as much as you want to give newer bands exposure, it's hard to construct an interview.
Yeah.
When there's not that much history.
Right. Yeah. I try to tell people that too. I try to tell them, I'm like, if somebody reaches out to me and I'm like, look, I like the one song that you have or whatever, but I don't know if I can do a whole, and I actually have done it before with like True Villains. I think they only had like 2 songs and I was like, but I just liked it so much that I was like, I feel like I got to have you on. Also, the singer was on American Idol. So there was a story there or whatever, but yeah, sometimes it's like, if they only have a couple songs, or even if they have a couple albums, but there's just, if they haven't toured or like there's no story, it's hard to construct a whole interview.
And that's no slight on the band. It's just
right
within the format of your podcast and my podcast as well.
Right.
Especially with yours, you do like the whole time frame. You got to start from the beginning right up to modern day. So it's weird. It's tough because I mean, if I hear a song from a band, I'd love to give it exposure and stuff like that. I'll post the video somewhere or something like that. But within the format of a podcast, what you're trying to do, your podcast is themed at giving an overview of somebody's career or whatever. So, it's tough. It is. There's been a few bands. There's a band called, I don't know if you listened to the episode on my podcast, a band called Mercy Music, one of my favorite bands from the last 3 or 4 years. And they're great. They're not that well known, but again, on this one though, they are a new band, but I looked into a bit of the history and there is quite a bit of cool history there. So I was like, I can put something together with this. We can present a bit of a story, if you like, which I think is what you need to do within the podcast format. Yeah.
So who's left on your bucket list? Like bands that you want to play in or tour with, and who's on your top bucket list for your guests on your show?
That's a good question with the bands.
Because you played with so many already. There's so many great people.
I think I'm at a point now with music. I'm just happy this is just me, like fanboying, just to play with anybody who I was a fan of is such a big deal for me. It's such a rush. It's so cool to be able to, because I like with the Bulletboys, for example, I am a fan of that band. As much as bands from that genre and everything, they do get looked down on by a lot of people, which I think is unfair because it's great. It's great music to me. I love it. It's the music that made me want to be in a band. So, so for me to get to do that is awesome. So anybody from that kind of era, I'm more than happy to play bass for. So
you should play with Alice Cooper, since you know Ryan Roxie and you played with him. He should like put in a word for you.
I know Chuck Garrick's he can do the shit off. He's got the abs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That guy's a demon.
He is pretty good. Yeah. I had their, his other band, Bisto Blanco. I had their, I guess she's kind of like the co-singer, kind of Calico Cooper, his daughter, Alice Cooper's daughter. I had her on. That was fun. You should maybe look at having her on. She's a great guest.
I'm a big fan of Chuck. He's a cool dude.
Have
He
you had
seems
him on
great
your
in
show?
interviews. No, I've never had him on. I know Ryan spoke to him a few times on his, and it might be somebody I could reach out to and have a word with. But,
Like, is there anyone that you're putting feelers out for, messages to, that you've been trying to get on your show, or do you not want to say?
Yeah, Marq Torien from the Bulletboys.
Seriously, how did I get him? And I didn't know him at all. And you actually played with him on 2 tours or 3 tours, and what the hell? Maybe I just had good time. I think when the time I reached out, he hadn't done an interview in a long time. And I think they were excited. And then after that interview blew up because I don't know if you know the story. Like he said, he talked about how he auditioned for Motley Crue. And so that interview, that's like one of my most popular episodes ever because of that story. I think everyone wanted to hear that. And some people questioned the validity. And I was like, look, I didn't say that it had this is just coming from Mark's story. I don't know the whole story. I don't know if it's fact or not, but that's his side of the story. So
I love Mark's story. And I think I've said to Mark before, like, you should write a book, dude, or I'll write a book with you. Cause I think his story is quite different to most of the other people from that kind of era. A lot of them was like, I want to be a rock star. I'm going to move from, I don't know, Pennsylvania to Hollywood and live in a van and all that kind of. That was most of the people's story from that kind of era. Whereas Mark, he grew up just outside of Hollywood. His dad was I think he's like a trumpet player and stuff like that. So Mark used to go to all his shows.
That's
and all
right.
that kind of thing. And Mark was signed to Motown Records and all that.
Yes. That's right. You know your history.
Such a cool journey.
Yeah. You listen to my episode with him, you can get a lot of even more of the history too. But yeah, you should definitely have him on. We'll have to make that happen.
Yeah. I'll get him on eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll see each other again, maybe either in person or on another podcast or maybe at a concert if you tour here.
That would be, I'd love to just come and hang out in Arizona, dude.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Come and crash
ago.
on my couch if you don't mind cats. Like, I got a couple cats, but
fine.
That's awesome. Yeah, it'd be cool. Like, didn't you say you did do a show down here at one point?
Yeah, we did 2 shows in Arizona.
Did you say it was at the Van Buren?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never been to that venue yet. It was amazing?
Yeah. Didn't you have a picture stuck outside of it recently?
Yeah, because we went there for the Kevin Smith thing. Yeah, that's where I guess I have been there technically now because we went, but it was like we didn't go into the like stage part. It was just kind of like it was kind of not as fun as some of the other those pop-up restaurants, but yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we had such a great time. I mean, I've said I've been lucky enough to play in bands with great songwriters, but I've also been lucky enough to tour with bands with the most amazing fan bases. From the Wild Arts fan base, we toured with them. We toured with a band called The Alarm. Their fan base is great, but Roger Klein and the Peacemakers, their fan base again, they're up there, dude.
They're
like
insane.
He's a god in Arizona.
Yeah, we have friends that they'll go anywhere that Roger Klein plays. Mexico, Vegas, California. Like they'll make a trip to go follow him. I mean, these people follow. It's like their life. Like it's kind of like Grateful Dead almost. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But awesome. Well, I do like to end with a charity. You said that. Explain to me this blind dog rescue. Is there that many blind dogs that they need a rescue for it?
I think it's because like blind dog, any kind of dog with like a 3-legged dog or something like that. It's kind of, they're the last one to be chosen from the kennels and all that kind of thing. But it's, I've been doing some fundraising for Blind Dog Rescue UK, who kind of try and help and save blind dogs and partly sighted dogs throughout not just the UK but Europe as well, and try and find them forever homes and all that kind of thing. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
If anyone wants to check out bdruk.org, you can find out a little bit more about that.
Okay, cool. I'll put that in the notes along with your website and your straight to video podcast links and the Ryan Hamilton. Does he have a website? He's got to have a website.
RyanHamiltonMusic.com.
Yeah, I'll put that on there. You're still in that band technically, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit weird year for everybody,
sure,
touring-wise, and with Ryan living in Texas and stuff like that. So he's been doing some solo stuff, but hopefully when we can come to each other's countries again, we can figure some live shows out.
Yeah, so you guys would tour the U.S. then? You would come to Arizona and
if touring opportunities arise, but with like the whole People on Vacation thing, which we did with Ryan. A majority of his fan base is concentrated over here because things kind of blew up a little bit. So this is where his touring opportunities lie.
Okay, well, cool. Well, hopefully we can see a show down here. That'd be cool to see, like I said. Or if you just want to come hang out, that's cool too.
Awesome, man.
All right. Well, thanks, Rob. I'll catch you on the flip
It's been
side.
a pleasure, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks ever so much.
All right. Bye-bye. So glad I got to do this episode. It really means a lot to me that Rob is so kind to me. I really think we need more people like him in the world. He's just such a nice guy and a great supporter of my show. I love him and his podcast and all his music. You got to check out Ryan Hamilton. This is a very underrated musical group. I would love to see them in concert, especially paired with Roger Klein. They toured with him before. I think that would be an amazing show. So make sure to follow Rob on social media to keep up with his podcast and his band. And while you're on there, give me a follow to keep up with my show and my adventures. And it's funny, I wrote Rob a really nice review for his podcast on iTunes, and he couldn't see it. And we think it's because of the difference in countries, which is really a shame. So if you have the time, give Rob's podcast a nice 5-star review on iTunes. He really does a great job. Or do something else nice for somebody. I'm all about spreading that love. Don't be spreading no hate. We got enough of that going around. Okay, so have a great rest of your day. And no matter what you do, give it your all and shoot for the moon.